Greetings guitarists and other curious musicians or people on the YouTube. We have done something new. Yes, another new thing from Bareface. Now, we make bass cabs. That's what we've been doing for 15 years, and we've been making guitar cabs for over 5 years, which have this patented AVD thing, the augmented vent diffractor. And what that does is it takes sound from the back of the speaker, so you've got the speaker firing forwards, but also the speaker has two sides, so the cone produces sound going backwards, and we take that sound and we diffract it through a slot and spread it around the room. So the mids and highs diffract and bounce around and reach you. The reverberant sound is a big part of the sound of everything in life. People do not realise quite how much that is. Notice when you wind your car windows up and down how much the sound changes even when you're not moving, and that's because you change the reverberant field. That's a really obvious reverberant effect. This is the new version of the AVD. So it's lightly modified in a rather cunning way. This is the original AVD. So this is found on all our 12-inch guitar cabs up to now-ish, apart from the ones with AlNiCo speakers. So this is a slightly curved slot. This is the one that is modified to fit the deeper magnets of AlNiCo speakers. So it's this larger hole there, and it still gets the tuning frequency where we want, so the low frequencies behave correctly, yet it also lets the mids and highs come through. If you make the slot too narrow, it acts as a low pass filter and cuts out the highs, and if you make the slot too wide, it doesn't actually diffract properly, so you don't get that benefit. The sound beams backwards more when you're actually wanting to split it and spread it so that it bounces and reaches you sooner, and reaches the rest of your band and reaches the audience. So this fits ceramic and neo magnets in just fine. This one fits the AlNiCos just fine, and both do the same thing sonically. Obviously this fits ceramic and neo but doesn't sound quite right. It's not as good as this one. This is the new one. It fits both. It works equally well with both. It took a bit of fiddling to get the tuning frequency where we wanted to and keep the mids and the highs diffracting in the way we wanted and behave the same way regardless of the driver that was fitted. So this fits all ferrite or ceramic, which is the same thing, or neo magnet drivers, and it fits all Celestion AlNiCo, and it probably fits most other AlNiCo ones. But if you're curious about fitting something different in, well, ask us and we'll find out how to check. So that's an update for you guys. The nice thing about that, it's easier for our production line, so it'll make it easier for us to actually hold stock occasionally rather than building everything to order, so you'll be able to get cabs more quickly. We haven't had to change it on the 10-inch drivers because the cabs have a bit more room relative to the depth of the driver, and we haven't had to change it on the upsizing because that's an oversized cab with greater depth. The other really nice benefit is it makes it much easier if you're someone who wants to experiment with different drivers. You don't need to make a decision of having the cab made to fit an AlNiCo or having the standard cab. The standard cab will work with pretty much everything. And I'm sure there's something else. Yes, there is something else. I've mentioned it in another video before. Just so you know, because these act like ported cabs at low frequencies, the boxes have to be airtight. You may say, well, it's not airtight, there's a big hole in it. But that big hole, at higher frequencies, it acts like a solid thing. The air does not leak through there because of the way the Helmholtz resonance works. So we have to put something to make the driver airtight from the front, and we now use a rather nice felt tape which sticks onto the baffle, not to the driver. The driver doesn't stick to it because it's felt rather than a foam gasket. It's still sufficiently airtight, and it means you can swap drivers. You don't have to worry about re-gasketing it, and if you were to blow a driver, it's much easier to change the driver. So, saying that, we've had very, very, very few instances of people blowing drivers, even though they're often downsizing to a barefaced AVD cab. So it does make me wonder, do they actually handle a bit more power when they're in an AVD cab? The answer is probably because the driver doesn't have to work as hard, partly because the back of the driver is producing output, and partly because the low frequency behaviour of the cab is actually means the cone doesn't have to move as far, so the cone and the voice coil are having an easier time, and also that air movement with the sort of porting effects will actually cool the driver somewhat. We actually stole some ideas from that, which are in our Big Baby 3 and Big Twin 3 with the supercooler design. So that came from experiments with trying to apply the AVD to bass cabs, which didn't work, but the supercooler came from it. So there we go. So this is the new AVD, and it does mean right now we've got a few demo cabs to get rid of with the old AVD, simply because it's more convenient for us to have identical speakers for everything. So if you want the cab, we've got them with made to fit ceramic magnets, and we've got them made to fit AlNiCo magnets. There's not many, but yeah, if you're quick you can get them. Anyway, that's been enough from me. I shall depart, and hopefully this time this is in focus. Goodbye, see you again.